Live
We're
now.
live, Brad.
Live
Live
now,
right
as
now.
I'm tweeting the link out as we speak. Our numbers won't be up right away, or are they? Who knows? Who cares?
We'll see. We're only on YouTube today, Brad. So
we'll
see.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's new. All right. Let me close my door real quick.
But yeah, this is obviously a very special episode of Indiana Hoosiers Live. Indiana Hoosiers Live 35. Cash is king. We're going to get into obviously the commitment of Cash Herrera. We're going to do an overview of the class of 2026. We're going to talk about all of the smoke. That being said, last week, Brad, you and I, or John, I'll start with this. John, a listener in the chat, brought up Randy Whitman. I forget which player he was comparing Randy Whitman to, but essentially Brad and I drew a blank on who Randy Whitman was. We got lambasted for it in the comment section on Twitter. A lot of Hoosier Nation was not pleased with our lack of knowledge or lack of appreciation who Randy Whitman was. And go ahead, Brad.
He kind of was Isaiah Thomas's Robin. Should know who that is.
Yeah, definitely. It didn't take long into the Google searches and the YouTube searches to figure out that we definitely should have known who Randy Whitman was. And so that's what we're starting off the show with today. It's the Randy Whitman apology, shout out, stat correction.
So I got a bunch.
Oh, Brad, you don't even know the
half. Are you really gonna get into it today? Are you gonna go historian?
Yeah.
You're gonna go
I'm going
today?
This is kind of a throwback to for the Sigs Inside listeners for the previews, the team previews in history that Brad used to do leading up to the games. Randy Whitman will start his story. Ben Davis High School. He is second all time in points per game, 23 points per game. He's top 5, I believe, in total points in a single game. He's got a 35-point game as a high schooler. He's tied 5th all time in total points. 3rd in field goals made, and he was the first Ben Davis player to be selected to the Indiana All-Star team. That's just in high school.
Who's the all-time leading scorer at Ben Davis?
Oh my God, Vernon, I think, from 1970.
Vernon Maxwell?
No, not Vernon Maxwell. Something Vernon, I think. We'll have to get stat corrected on that again. That'll be next week's.
Those stat corrections keep piling up, you know. Never ends.
He then goes to IU. He's part of the 1981 national championship team. He was 3rd highest scorer on that team. He was a co-captain in 1983. That year, he was Big Ten MVP and All-American consensus second team. He was a 3-time Big Ten champion. And when he graduated, he was 8th in career scoring, 2nd in assists, and 3rd in steals. So just an unbelievable playing career. The coolest nugget that I was able to find through research and trying to dig a little deeper was the link I tweeted out. But there was a 1984 Team USA scrimmage versus IU legends, and on the court for Indiana was Isaiah Thomas, Whitman, Mike Woodson, Kent Benson, Scott May, and they scrimmaged against the Bob Knight coached USA team, and that was super grainy footage from Assembly Hall, which I thought was really cool. And then right after the scrimmage ends, you get Bob Knight basically giving a thank you to the team and to the hanging banners and telling Team USA to be this is the tenacity why they worked so hard. This is why they're able to hang this. So I thought that was really cool.
That is cool because back in those days, for those who don't know, that was pre NBA players on the Team USA team. So back when it was just amateurs playing for Team USA. So yeah, super important for Bobby to do that. That is kind of cool. I haven't seen that video. That'd be kind of cool to watch, but I guess it's grainy. Maybe not the best film to watch.
He then played. He had a 9-year NBA playing career. He was a first-round pick. He played for Atlanta, Sacramento, and Indy. He also coached in the NBA. He was an assistant coach for Indy, Minnesota, Dallas, Orlando. He then coached Washington, the Cavs, and the Wolves.
Yeah, he coached those Brad Beal, John Wall teams.
Yes. Another one of the nuggets that I was able to find was Randy Whitman, the head coach, basically going out of his way to destroy a report about John Wall, going after the morality of the reporter and basically like protecting his guy, like full blown protecting his guy. And, I thought that was really cool. So then fast forward even a little bit more, or actually going back a little bit because I have more stats. Randy Whitman, I believe, holds the IU record for career minutes played at 4,699. He played the full 40 minutes 45 times. And he was instrumental in bringing Bob Knight back to Assembly Hall when he came back in 2019, 2020-ish. Quinn Buckner actually said it was Randy Whitman who led the charge. Whitman is quoted as saying that Bob Knight belongs in Bloomington. So, again, another just piece of Indiana history that this man has impacted. His career resulted in the Indiana Hall of Fame in 1995, the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame, the IU Hall of Fame in 1995, the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame in 2007, and in 2003, he went in the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame as a silver anniversary team. And in 2022, he was awarded the Clevenger Award, which is presented to I-Men, people as alumni who have made outstanding contributions to Indiana University through service to its athletics programs. Simply put, this is the highest honor given to an I-Man by the association. So an incredibly important Hoosier, and somebody that I was happy to go back and do research and learn about. I feel like it made me a better Hoosier.
Yeah, and a really good guard back in the day. If the All-American wasn't enough to portray that. Yeah, my bad for not knowing 81. Sorry, I only knew Isaiah Thomas, and then I believe there was someone like Kurt Benson wasn't on that team. Someone else, some other really big guy, Tolbert, something like that.
If you keep stepping backwards, we'll be right back here next week doing the same thing.
Yeah, I know. I'm just gonna stay away from it. Honestly. I think that's for the best.
Well, I was gonna say, if people end up enjoying that historic deep dive, or they want a little bit more of that, let us know, and we'll do our best to relearn Hoosier history and show respect to the people that we should definitely know who they are.
Yeah, Ray Tolbert, I got that one right. Ray Tolbert, starting center for that 81 team. I nailed that. Let's go.
There you go, Brad.
Big three: Ray Tolbert, Isaiah Thomas, Randy Whitman. How could you forget? Anyone who doesn't know that is an idiot and doesn't deserve to be have an Indiana podcast. Basically,
Well said, Brad. Well said.
Fucking A. How do you not know Randy Whitman?
Yeah, I know. So that was the Randy Whitman apology. Shout out, stat correction. We apologize, Randy Whitman. Shout out to Randy Whitman, an all-time Hoosier. Obviously, accolades, as many accolades as you can possibly have. And he was very good friends with Mike Woodson and closely associated with the basketball program. I don't know if people are going to take that as a positive. I hope they do. But yeah,
he could be our next head coaching hire. No, just kidding. D-Rock's going to last. Don't worry.
Don't even talk like that. But the biggest news of the week, Brad, Cash Herrera, Indiana locked down their quarterback in the class of 2026. I've been saying it all week.
Money.
Cash is king. This was really the one, if you want to say, glaring hole in the class of 2026 that Indiana had. We saw them target a couple of different quarterbacks in this class. We'll get into kind of what happened with a couple of those other guys when we do the deep dive, or the overview of the class of 2026 as we head into the fall. But just Cash Herrera, you're the California guy, master of the eye test. What do you see?
What do I see when I watch Cash Herrera? Obviously, when the commitment came out, I sent the tweet out. A good amount of action, obviously passes the name test. Cash Herrera, one of the best, just a great quarterback name. Oh my, it really can't get any better than that. Like if that's better than like Cash Smith, Cash Herrera, just Cash followed by some sort of, not the norm last name is pretty cool. And then obviously, just the talent at the quarterback position, like that's more of a bit, the name test, obviously. And I do think there's a sign there, but I think there is something to that anyways. But the
it helps the moxie. I'm with you.
Yeah, the moxie, the swagger, you need that confidence. But when it comes to the talent that comes out of California, especially at the quarterback position, I mean, we've talked about this before. They deal with, some of the best talent on the outsides that they have to deal with. They have to deal with some of the best DB talent in the country, year in, year out. So it really helps develop the quarterbacks. It's a very, down in Southern California, it's a very pass heavy type of ball, not a ton of grinded out, pounded up the middle type. You don't see that too. No one's running, wishbone and veer out there. It's all spread offenses. So, to see that, when breaking down his film, I think there's a lot of good to see there. He's 6'3", kind of like he's basically like my size right now as a high schooler, which is pretty good. To have coming in, I think there could be, get him in the Derek Owings weight program. We'll see what happens, because I did see, as good as he was at escaping like the pocket and making plays on the run, on the move, and kind of doing that modern day quarterback, scramble, make a play type deal. Improvisation is what I was getting at, which is really good at, but it seemed like he was like just barely getting out of there. And I don't know if the talent that he's necessarily playing in. And so I don't know if he's playing St. Augustine and some of the big dogs down there. He's kind of from a smaller Catholic school in San Diego, but I mean, he's making the plays and doing it, right? So I think he can definitely bulk up and get a little more athleticism. I think there's a lot of potential in that front. And then I remember we were in the chat with IU reactionary Jamie Jordan. He was mentioning that he really liked his footwork, and I didn't say it in the chat then, but yes, he does have that improvisation and the footwork there, like the natural footwork is there. But when he's standing in the pocket, his feet can get a little stagnant. But that's why he's going to work with Witt. Witt's going to help him work with that, right? Like that's something that's super easy to coach up, is the footwork, not having just flat feet in the pocket, just kind of standing there. Like once he's moving, it all looks good, but he does have kind of a habit of kind of just standing there, and obviously you cannot do that at the college level. And then so the athleticism kind of could put on some weight. The footwork, it has potential, but has some habits that maybe need to work out. The arm. Kid's got an arm. Kid's got an arm. Kid's got an arm, and it's funny because he's very similar to like an Alberto Mendoza or a Fernando Mendoza when you saw their tape, coming out of high school. Very similar. Killer arm. Like, I saw this kid kind of take a reverse angle, kind of plant, just kind of chuck it, and like effortless. 50
He's
yard
got a couple.
bump.
He's got a couple stupid throws
as a junior in high school. That's great. That's like very impressive. Obviously, that's how you get the D1 offers. Is that killer arm? But, I mean, it's pretty effortless with him. I haven't seen him throw on the run. He kind of needs to plant and let it fly, and he's very accurate with it. Knows how to throw it to a spot. So tons of potential there. Love the commitment for a 3-star. I think that's as good of a film as you can probably see from a 3-star quarterback. And obviously he had the Iowa commitment, 3 weeks ago. So there's a reason why he was already going to go to the Big Ten. And, the fact that we were able to poach him away, we've now become the school that takes your early committed quarterback toward the end of the summer window. So that's awesome to get. And like I said, the name, he's got the arm, some good improvisation skills, and just a few kinks to work out. Get in the weight room, and we'll work out the footwork once you get on campus. And yeah, very, very excited for his potential and what his growth could look like for Indiana one day. Because once Alberto's gone, because it's going to be Fernando then Alberto, which is pretty that's going to set us up for about three more seasons after this one. So we'll see kind of where he's at, as he probably competes with Tyler Cherry and an older Tyler Cherry, and who else is on camp? And who else we got? Jacob Bell. Jacob Bell's around. So yeah, so that let me.
I was gonna say, let me throw 3 things at you. Gonna take you in a couple of different directions.
Yeah,
he's listed at 6'3", 220.
He's 205. There's just no way he's 220. After watching there's just no. I think that's like a typo. Like that's got to be. Because I saw 205, and then I also saw 225. I'm just like, that's a big.
It is a big gap.
That's 6'3". That's a huge.
What do you make of Chandler Whitmer's first because like it wasn't that he wasn't involved in the Fernando Mendoza process, but I don't even think he was officially hired until like February or January or whatever, or at least 2025. So what do you make of Chandler Whitmer's first recruit coming out of California?
I kind of want to talk about the entire cycle, honestly, because he goes after Brody McWhorter, who's like that 6'5"
all right,
power
hold it real
arm.
quick because I want to have that conversation, but I want to throw this one at you real quick too.
Yeah.
Here's what I got watching Cash Herrera. And to a lot of people who didn't watch this guy's college career, this is gonna like people are gonna be like, whoa, let me get through it before you aggregate or get upset, whatever. When I watch Cash Herrera, to me, I see West Coast Kenny Pickett. And that is a huge compliment. 3-star quarterback, very similar sized, arm strength that isn't going to get as much credit as it deserved, but you turn on the film and they're making every throw. Under recruited, early commit to a different school. I say West Coast because Cash Herrera was committed to Iowa, Kenny was committed to Temple, right? And I'm not saying that Cash Herrera can come in and is going to be able to like beat like number 2 ranked team in the country in his freshman year. That's not what I'm saying. Or I'm not saying he's going to be able to get drafted in the first round. But to me, that like that's what I said. Like the kid's got tools. He's got moxie. He's got like he competes. Like I'm not sure how good his team was. I'm not sure how many playmakers he had outside that number 3 kid who looked like a demon on tape. But that's what I got watching him and taking that somebody like that and putting them in the Curt Cignetti offense. Like when this staff zeroes in on somebody, and we'll get to the whole cycle in a second. But at the end of the day, like this was the most decisive they were on a quarterback. Whether it was before or after he came on the market, he was on the market. It was 6 days and he was a Hoosier. So it was seamless execution of the plan.
Yeah, it was awesome how quickly they were able to do it. And I don't want to like discredit you or anything, but I hate the Kenny Pickett comp because Kenny, I guess Kenny grew to be a better athlete as time went on. Like by the time he was a senior, he was just the best athlete on the field. NFL, like he didn't have that mobility. Like Cash Herrera doesn't have that mobility. So I guess in a sense you are kind of right. Like Cash Herrera he can move around. He has like improvisation, like I said, but like, yeah, he's not like crazy speed. Like he's not going to like just take it to the house at the high school level, which probably means he's like a get 5 yards, run out of bounds type guy at the college level. Probably, I mean, but you don't know what type of athlete he's going to be once he hits the Derek Owings weight room and does 4 years of that. You don't know what he's going to look like. You don't know what his 40 dash will look like. He also doesn't have to wear gloves to throw the ball. So I don't like,
I said West Coast. Hands. I said West Coast.
La Jolla. I like that though. Figure
out what makes Kenny Pickett different from West Coast Kenny Pickett, and there you go. But I see the moxie, I see the competitiveness, I see the arm talent. Like Pitt Hoosier, that's a phenomenal question. I don't know if he can fake slide, but
not yet.
That's
Derek Owens.
Maybe not yet, but like I'm gonna be honest. There was a couple times on film where it's like, oh, I can't believe he's gonna. But like obviously, you're watching the huddle. He's gonna get out of there. He's gonna get cut, and then like he scoots away. So it's like I'm not gonna discredit his athleticism.
Yeah, the athleticism isn't gonna like blow you away. It's not anything. I'm not gonna athletically. He's not special. The arm is special. The arm, very accurate. Knows where to put it. I saw a multiple like pylon throws where he's just kind of leading the receiver to the pylon like that. That's next level stuff that he's doing as a junior in high school. And that's just exciting to see. Cause like I said, the DB play in California, no matter where you're at, is going to be very good. So to be able to make throws like that and not, and complete them is very impressive. So yeah. And obviously like we've said it again, we're just going to trust what this coaching staff does day in and day out. And all the signs are there. Like I really don't see everything that's kind of wrong with him is fixable, whether it be in the weight room or in the Chandler Whitmer quarterback crash course, QB 101, whatever his, it's not going to be sniper mentality anymore with Tino gone, but it'll be something different. It'll be something fun. And yeah, I'm glad he went for a California talent in his first, when we started this podcast, remember it was one of the first episodes. I was like, can't wait for us to get to a point where we can get California recruits. And before you know it, we got the best type of California recruit, which is the quarterback. So I'm happy. I'm thrilled.
Oh, it's funny. I was going like looking back through my replies to find Chase Burns is making his debut tonight. So shout out to the Morgans. Hopefully they're watching that. But I was trying to find like what the tweet of like talk like engaging with the Reds fans, and I found something from like August of last year, basically like, I can't believe Julian Lewis is wearing an Indiana shirt. Like this is huge for the program. Like in the moment, yes, but like thinking about how far we've come in 10 months is insane.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Like obviously, Cash isn't the 5-star that Juju is, right? So like getting Juju would have been the greatest thing ever.
No,
But
100%.
having a quarterback before, like, because we're about to hit a dead period, correct?
We're in it. Actually, it started
Yeah, we
yesterday.
just hit the dead period. So to get that quarterback right before the dead period, going into, now we can start focusing on fall and
Class
focusing
of
on
'27.
the guys that are there, and yeah, and possibly even start scouting the class of 2027 a little bit, and yeah, start getting momentum, because if we have a good season, like we're at 19 recruits, that's about six plus, spots that can be filled, and with a good season, that could be some pretty high level recruits come November, December, January recruiting cycle. So yeah, excited. It's a huge thing to get accomplished, because it was the one thing that was probably like, we tried nitpicking this program the best we can, and not having a quarterback commit was probably the biggest one, and they got it. So within 6
Yeah.
days of the guy decommitting, which I will say, probably we were talking to him before he decommitted. Probably.
100%. Listen, when you're in high school, and as long as you don't sign one of those, and like we'll see what happens with this Wisconsin Miami thing. We could talk about that a little at the end. But as long as you don't sign an NIL deal where you can get like where you are binded to it, then it's fair game. Like you're and like we're like let's have the conversation about Indiana's class of 2026, because they are at 19. They did, and I think they are still at number 22 on 24/7's rankings. The only real negative we've seen in the last week in terms of Indiana recruiting is that Jay Timmons is now officially on flip watch. Whitfong put a 60% confidence prediction that he's going to flip to Florida State. That was something we discussed when the Florida State offer initially came through for Timmons. The family connection there is impossible to ignore, and it's like that's at the end of the day, what are you going to do? So hopefully you're able to keep a kid like that, a talented kid like that in the class. You're obviously better if he comes to campus, but like this, we saw this with Byron Baldwin Jr. last year. Like he did, it wasn't this early, but it's like I'm not going to rule us out of the race either if he ends up decommitting. So that's kind of the game you play. But if you look at the rest of the class at 26, like they're in a really good spot.
Yeah, they really are. And I want to give a shout out to Scott. Julian Lewis is a bust. He hasn't played a snap yet. You can't say that. That's not fair. He's a kid. These are kids, guys. They're kids. They're just children. All right, let's relax. And then yeah, Sonny Six Killer from Wisconsin, from Washington back in the day. I did a quick little search on Sonny Six Killer. The guy threw for 350 yards over a Boomer Esiason over Maryland's Boomer Esiason in the Aloha Bowl in 1982. So
does that
yeah,
deserve a
that's
shout out
Six
to
Killer.
the New York
And
media market? Probably not.
I'm gonna throw another Washington Husky name at you. I'm gonna throw Napoleon Kaufman, all-time leading rusher. That's a good name too. But I don't know if it quite beats Sonny Six Killer, but Napoleon Kaufman, dog back in the day. Not that I was alive to watch, but I'm a sicko. I've definitely seen clips of him, and he was a hell of a player, all-time leading rusher.
Pac-12 memory of the week.
Pac-12 memory of the week, Napoleon Kaufman. There we go. And Sonny Six Killer. We'll do Sonny Six Killer too. Yeah. 350 yards in the Aloha Bowl over Boomer Esiason.
Let's talk about the class of 26, Brad. You started to kind of get into the evolution of the quarterback recruiting. So if you just kind of want to jump right back into that conversation.
Yeah, like what I see from Whitmer early was, he clearly is a type. He looks for, kind of He looks for good quarterback. You know, bro. I mean, it's not like he has a type. You know, because the difference between Brody McWhorter and Luke Fahey are pretty astronomical, especially inside. I think there's 6 inches between them in terms of height. So totally different like style
No, I
of
don't.
throwing. And
McWhorter wasn't that big.
McWhorter is a big guy. It's like 6'5".
I'm
And then
no.
and then what's his face? Luke Fahey, who's probably gonna end
Brody
up being
McWhorter 6'2", 205 on
serious?
24/7. Yes.
He looked a lot taller when I was watching film on him.
No, actually, Herrera is the tallest quarterback they were recruiting.
Well, I like that. I like the taller the better is how I go. But anyways, it's very. I mean, Luke Fahey's like 5'11". Like I don't know. He's not. He might be listed at 6'1", but he's not that tall. He's very bulky. But clearly, he likes going after the California guys, going after a kid from La Jolla, going after a kid from Mission Viejo. Those are 2 different areas of SoCal. That's San Diego. That's Los Angeles. Like he clearly is going after, California, which I love. I think that's a great strategy moving forward, especially at the quarterback position. So, yeah. And then you want to talk about the 2026 class?
Yeah, well, I mean, it was just it's interesting to think about it that way because, like I kind of said before, Cash Herrera was the only quarterback in the class where it really felt like it was alignment from both sides, right? Where it was like, yeah, they went after Brody McWhorter, but it was very clear like there was a bunch of different dogs in that race. Like, yeah, they went after Luke Fahey, but it was pretty public that like if Ohio State was a go, then that's kind of where he was leaning. The conversation that we would have liked to have had, and that I don't think it's a negative to not have that conversation, but it's like when you start battling against a school like Ohio State, and like somebody like Fahey could be a special case, right? Because he literally went out of his way to say it's a dream school. And so when you come in with that added advantage, how much can you really recruit on the back end to try and mitigate that? What we would like to see, obviously, is Indiana start winning a lot of these battles. Luke Fahey, Ohio State, he picked up his Wiltfong crystal ball, but at the same time, when you see Cash Herrera commit, you're like, okay, there's the quarterback in this class. Jaquaden Guilford, his commitment date is it today? It might actually be today, or it might be the 27th, one of those two. But he's the Fort Wayne wide receiver. He's got Ohio State, Michigan, Ole Miss, and Indiana in his top 4. And like I haven't seen a ton of smoke one way or the other about him, but I would feel like if there was a pretty good chance he was coming, that there would be at least some signs or at least a little bit of like buzz. So it's like
Not
the class is
necessarily.
I would say the class is in a phenomenal spot where it would feel like we would be slightly ahead of recruiting schedule if we were going to start to creep up even higher than this. And I think just right now we're right on schedule, which is okay. But I think for a little bit there, it looked like we were going to be ahead of schedule, which was obviously exciting. By any means, I don't think that means we're in a bad spot now.
Yeah, 100%. I don't think there's anything wrong with like this class. Like we're gonna miss on guys, miss on Brody, we're gonna miss on Luke Fahey, we're gonna miss on Travis Johnson. Those are pretty high level recruits. Like that just happens, Like, what was the thing when Henry Ollinger got or no, it was when Timmons got the offer from Florida State. It was like I said, welcome to the Thunderdome. This is just how recruiting goes, right? Like if you're hitting on about 50% of the guys that you really want, like you're probably going to be in a good spot because you're going after about 50 guys that you really want. And if you end up, with half those guys at 25, that's a full class. And you got all the guys you got a full class of guys that, that passed your test and you want on your team, not just, second options, things like that. So yeah, I like I said, I'm just going to keep trusting what this team's doing. I don't think it's guaranteed that Jay Timmons flips. I really don't.
No, I don't think it is either.
I think it's like an obvious, like there's so many times where these guys are wrong, right? Who was it? Stephen Wiltfong. Like he's wrong all the time. Stephen Wilt wrong is what we should start calling him. And he's that's pretty funny, honestly. But yeah, so him putting a 60% confidence in him flipping is just like, that's just like 60 is not even that high. Like to be honest, like it's really not. Like it's like not even a passing grade. So I'm gonna stick with that. I think we have a good relationship with them. I'm gonna trust our DB coaches. They're really good. Like We have Dontre Henderson's cousin here. Pons will be gone when he's on campus, but I mean, there's just so much talent in this room that he can really, learn from. Because I think
Dontre Henderson.
I got to double check
here.
Gandy and Knighton's eligibility. I don't know if they're one and done's at IU or not.
Gandy's young. Gandy's got at least I think he's a sophomore.
So yeah, it's been a while since I looked at the roster. I've been going off my notepad for I don't have the years on them.
It's obvious, like
notepad for a few weeks now.
Again, it's funny. This kind of brings me back to like the way that like the Iowa guys were talking about Casarera after he decommitted, where it's like, yeah, obviously you want somebody like that to come into your program, but it's like, where does it leave us ultimately in the grand scheme of things? Like, obviously, I think quarterback is a much more important position than defensive back, but it's like, again, like Scott Bainey said it like correct right here. Like Timmons flipping would be a loss, but it won't bury us.
Yeah, Sharp. I just got back. Like Sharp, Pons, Gandy, and Knighton all have eligibility to come back next year. If they wanted to. I could see Sharp and Pons with a killer year like that. I think we're gonna have. I could see Sharp and Pons both.
Pons is not coming back.
And even then, like it's like, okay, we still have Gandy and Knighton just slotted into our starting corners for next year. Dontre Henderson just chomping at the bit.
That doesn't even include the freshmen this year, Stewart and Smith and.
Yeah, I like Zach Smith a lot. He's gonna be really good. I like Zach Smith a lot. I don't know what Deontay Stewart is, to be honest. Like, I think we need. I think he's a linebacker. A few years, no, he's not gonna be. I don't like that. I think he could be, but I mean, we don't know what he is. So I'm not. Deontay, big physical, guy, heavy hit,
cover, not afraid to hit.
Yeah, I mean,
imagine
I
that
would
guy
love
playing
that
linebacker,
as a DB
Brad.
though.
Rover, imagine
but
playing.
We brought in so many linebackers. It makes me think we're not.
I'm not saying this year, dude. He's a freshman.
Yeah, but I mean, we just brought in we just have 3 freshman linebacker commits coming in. Olinger, Savage, they're all coming in.
Is it? It might be 4.
Nelson, Kamara, Farmer, they're all gone. They're all there. Quentin Clark. Wait, is Jamari Farmer gone? I forgot to cross him off.
He's in the portal.
Okay. Yeah, I should have updated that on the famous notepad. Hold on.
Yeah, Brian Haynes has an embarrassment of riches at linebacker. And the defensive line in this class, and that was kind of another, I don't know if you can call it a miss because Kobe Cherry committed to Purdue today. And obviously you kind of like look twice at that one because Tyler Cherry, his brother, was not on the team technically this year, but he's a part of the program. But you then take a look at this Indiana defensive line class and like they're really, really deep at defensive line. Like Kavonte Hugan, Scarface, he's the top rated defensive lineman in the class. He's right up there with Gabriel Hill. Then you have Trevor Gibbs, who 24/7 lists as an edge. We've heard he's coming in to play tight end. We heard they don't even know what position he's coming in to play. He's just a football player.
To be honest.
Blake Smythe, too, on the defensive line. And that doesn't even include Rodney White, who was, I believe, the first defensive commit in the class. And he was, like, his tape was really fun, too.
Yeah. Just thinking about it, I think Gibbs is an edge. I think that he'd be scary at the end.
That's another kid's huddle that's just, like, hilariously terrifying if you're on the other team. Like,
yeah, I'm scared of Trevor Gibbs, and I'm not even playing football anymore. So... And we're probably not even in the same state right now. And I'm worried Trevor Gibbs is going to just bust in my room and just tackle me really hard. Like that film is scary. Like it was like watching who was it, Baylor Wilkins film, just scary guy. Just body bags after body bag. It's and really athletic as a tight end, which makes me think, he could play tight end, but like that athleticism and bend at an edge at that size and strength and tenacity could just be, that's just at NFL like that's like what they look for,
Dude, we didn't even mention Casimir Hicks, who's arguably the number 1 player in Indiana, coming in at defensive back as well. Like they have so many dudes. Obviously Timmons makes that better.
Yeah, so now I think the key, like they've addressed running back, they've brought in a couple tight ends. I think they could use.
Yeah, Jerry on Campbell, the running back, had an Alabama offer.
I kind of like that, like going into, they can have a stellar year and maybe like receiver. They only have Rupert, who I think is going to be really good, but at the slot, they can go out, find some pretty high level outside guys to kind of come in and be instant impact guys for next year with those open spots that they have. Given a big year from IU, that gives them the ability to pitch a 5-star, 4-star who's kind of on the fringe, maybe committed to a team that disappoints this upcoming year, and they can maybe even flip
100%.
them. So and we're still waiting on Guilford too, who's a 4-star receiver in his own right. So we're in a really good spot. Just overall.
That's the other point I wanted to make about the class, is that if you like, the other criticism I guess you could make is, well, this can't be a criticism because they've been very blatant that they're going to take 1 to 2, maybe 2 running backs to class max. Coach John Miller runs his room in a very specific way, and they have their guys and they're good.
You can't take 2 running backs every class. Like, you just can't do it.
I know there's just not enough mouths to feed.
Not enough scholarships.
Jerry on Campbell, stud. They're good there. Tight end, they brought in 2 or 3 guys, I think. Elmore and PJ McFarland, and I think that's it.
That's it. Unless you want to count Gibbs. At that point, it's like Gibbs is not playing tight end.
Is Gibbs? Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah.
It's like Gibbs is not playing tight end. He's getting to play defense, and he's a scary guy. So I kind of want him on defense, anyways. But they can maybe even run. But then they could run packages with Gibbs. Hear me out. Remember, all right, Pac-12 memory of the week. Speaking of Washington, so Jim Mora days, they'd run these sets. They'd go Kenny Clark, who was an NFL nose tackle for the end. They go T-bone, basically. They go Brett Hundley under center. They go Eddie Vanderdoes and Kenny Clark, who are both NFL D linemen. They go Miles Jack in the back. And usually they'd run it with Miles Jack, but sometimes they'd throw it to Eddie Vanderdoes. And that could be maybe Trevor Gibbs' role, coming in as like a extra, you want to go heavy package, bring him in as like a blocker, and then maybe once in a while throw him the ball for a touchdown. I think that could be electric. Opens the door for a lot of packages. It's amazing what happens when you have high level athletes on the team and the amount of things that you can do. And Trevor Gibbs could be one of those guys where, he plays defense, but he comes in on an offensive, heavy set on the goal line, and maybe drop a little play for him. Maybe put him out in the flat a little bit, run play action. He's wide open in the flat, touchdown. Bing. Touchdown Hoosiers.
That's super. But where I was going with that was, you look at Cortez Rupert, obviously the only receiver in the class, really like his huddle as well. And you're like, okay, maybe they're a little bit light. We'll see what happens with Guilford. They've put themselves to be, again, in prime position to be a flip candidate come later this fall. Another good year from Indiana, and maybe a lot of the things you're saying, to your point, Brad, maybe you have a couple guys committed to teams that didn't perform up to standard, and the pitch hits a little bit different when you're seeing it happen for a second straight year. And then the other kind of, I don't know if I'd call it a weak spot, because I do like the guys in the interior of the offensive line they brought in. They don't really have somebody right now who can slot into it, either tackle. That'd probably be an area where we'd like to go look at. LaRon Dews made a little bit of a pitch to his left tackle from Cardinal Mooney, Deron Parks. His tape is an unbelievably fun watch if you like offensive line play. So that would be a really fun add to this class in this offensive line. That kid screams Bob Bostad guy, so that would be really fun. But other than that, it's like,
I would have to. I mean, Kenton Mondu is a tackle. But then the other two guys.
Oh, Mondu's definitely a tackle. You're
Skiffers
right.
And Skiffers. I hope I'm saying that right. CJ Skiffers and Samuel Simpson. Those guys are interior. Skiffers is just the freaky 6'6", 325 guy who could just be an NFL guard one day. But maybe, but with that size, who knows what you can do at tackle. But I mean, with that size, it screams tackle, but I didn't really see it too much on film, to be honest. As a college level tackle.
You were talking about you love tall guards.
Yeah, I do. I do love tall guards. You look at an NFL O-line, not a whole lot of guys are sub 6'4" besides the center. Just even then, some of the best centers, like Brandon Linder from the Jags comes to mind. He was 6'7" in his own right way back in the day. Obviously, when you think center, you kind of think Jason Kelsey these days, but typically like NFL linemen are 6'5" plus. Like that's just how it goes, regardless of position. And that's why, people are so concerned about quarterback height and Bryce Young coming out of the draft, right? Because you got to throw over those guys. At the NFL, you can't really just get away with just being 6'3", 320. It doesn't really work when you got to block, Aaron Donald and Snacks Harris, just guys like that. It doesn't work. So, bigger the better.
Absolutely. To wrap up recruiting, there are a couple different guys Indiana's kind of still in the mix for. Obviously, we've mentioned Guilford a number of times. Nick Reddish is a defensive back, probably leaning Notre Dame, but Indiana is firmly in his top 5. And then Cortez Redding is a defensive back who Indiana's in his top 5 as well. But I believe his commitment date is like July 20 something or something like that. So who knows?
Yeah, I think they're definitely in the running for Cortez Redding. I think Cam McAney, that defensive lineman who's from IMG, I think they're still in the mix there. Jack Fuchs, another tackle from Tennessee, they're in the running there. Ronell Johnson, an edge from Missouri, they're in the in the weeds there. Another edge from Georgia, Cottrell Webb. They're in the running.
Cottrell Webb, yeah, they're actually, good call with Cottrell Webb because he made Indiana made his top 3, and he's committing soon too.
And speaking of really good names, Jeremiah Favorite, a corner from South Carolina. Indiana is definitely in the mix there. So they've done great during this summer cycle, and I think now it's time to kind of wind down and start focusing on fall, which is super exciting because we're going to get pads we're probably going to get pads in about 6, maybe 5 weeks. It's exciting.
That's going to lead us right into the smoke, Brad. And it would be sick going into the fall? Would be action in the class of 2027. Who's in the class of 2027, you ask? Showtime Sales, who was seen working out in an Indiana t-shirt or Indiana football Adidas shirt. I'm going to be honest, I missed it the first time I saw the video. I just kind of like his stuff when I'm scrolling the timeline. But obviously, it got a lot of play out on Indiana Twitter. Shout out to Showtime Sales. Obviously, Indiana is going to be very, very involved in his recruitment. And like me and you talked about, with their class essentially being all but done, give or take 2 or 3 guys, this gives them the opportunity to now get ahead for the class of 2027, an opportunity they did not have last year. And hopefully it starts with a kid like that.
Hopefully. I mean, if they can get a commitment from him mid-season this year, I mean, that's just gonna light a spark of fire for what could be the 2027 class, which in theory, like in terms of like the schedule of stacking days, stacking weeks, stacking months, stacking years to get to the pinnacle, right? Like that could be the program shifting class. Like I'm not saying, these last 2 classes can't make an impact. Like these are good foundational classes to bring in early on when you are a school like Indiana and don't have the leg up in recruiting and have to rely on the portal year in and year out. This is one of those classes in 2027, hopefully, to where it can set the table to where they don't have to go into the portal every year, like at mass, like they do, like bringing in 25 guys from the portal like they do every year. Maybe they can go back down to 10 guys from the portal. There's 10 impact starters that they can bring in the portal and just have really sound depth that they've brought in over the course of, the recruiting cycles.
Well, one of the things me and you did, if you remember back last year to our season preview, when we were talking about teams that had won the national championship, you looked at I went back and I looked at the last, I think like since the transfer portal started, how many national champions, like how many transfers did they have? And I don't think anybody had more than 10, and I'm not sure anybody had more than 5 either. So it's like, it's as much as the transfer portal is the glitz and the glam, and you can change the outlook of your team. Like we literally just watched this happen last year. It's very important for teams like Indiana to be able to flip your roster. But when you want to start being those next tier, upper tier programs, like it all comes from within, and then you supplement. Like you watch Ohio State go grab Caleb Downs. And like he was like one of 3 guys they added in the portal. Like Will Howard, they added a quarterback, they added quarterback on defense, and they won the national championship.
And they
But
brought in
the rest of those,
Judkins, and they brought in
yeah,
they brought in
they
10
they could have
guys. But
won
like
they could have won the
had.
Natty without Judkins. You know what I
Here's the
mean? Like
thing. Yeah, but they already had Sawyer. They already had JTT.
that's literally my
They already
point.
had Simon. What's his name? Simon Styles, right?
Cody
Styles.
Simon, Sonny Styles.
Sonny Styles, who I think is an absolute freak. That dude's a stud. And then,
I watched a lot of Menace to Sports, Brad, before Indiana football was good.
Yeah, it's I mean, building your roster through like in all sports, continuity is the most important thing. Like, yes, you can really increase your talent on a team through the portal, but in order to get past the bump that is, the elites of the elites, that continuity and having that talent there is how you get there, right? And how do you have the talent there with continuity? It's through the freshman recruiting class. Like, that's always going to be the biggest thing. And doing it right and getting guys to commit, not just by throwing $8 million at them, right? Like, that could work, but is it
cash is king,
no
Brad, and money helps. Money helps, and you know what else helps? Indiana football ticket sales reaching quote historic levels, according to Michael Niziolik. Ticket sales up 50%. 50%. A 50% increase in ticket sales. That's just absolutely phenomenal. Hopefully this translates to NIL dollars, but like you want, like, especially because revenue share is now a thing. Like, you want to point to, like, I made a joke that the Kelly School of Business slogan is go from moments to momentum, but to go from the 2024 season and turn that into a 50% increase in ticket sales is unbelievable. Like, that's bravo to everybody involved. Shout out to the fans for showing out and making this a big deal. But like, that's, to me, that's the most impressive thing that's come out of the offseason is that number.
Yeah. And I mean, it's great. Yeah. I anticipated ticket sales. I think we got a question earlier in this live show era that, what do I think the attendance would look like? And I think I said 75% plus, around 75 for the first 3 kind of, the cupcake, not the cupcakes, but tune-up games. We'll call them tune-ups. Yeah, the tune-up games. And then, but Illinois better be sold out. And I'm saying before the season even kicks off. Like, the fact that it hasn't been sold out yet is shocking to me. That's probably going to be a big noon kickoff. Likely to have, Urban Meyer and Mark Ingram in town that week. And let's sell that thing out now. Like, what are we
playing the damn accordion while you're...
I can't go because Goose is in town in Chicago. So I kind of want to rip the bars and then go see a Goose concert afterwards. I think that could just be an electric Saturday, but
that's so lame.
Illinois. What do you mean? That's so lame. You go to Illinois. How about that?
I actually, sadly, also can't. Not sadly, but it's literally like the first wedding of my boys back home. Like the first one of us getting married happening that weekend.
That's fair.
Yeah, I'm
going to UCLA.
I'll be watching the game.
Probably going to Oregon this year. So there we go.
Yeah, me and you we have to talk about which game because I don't know if I can wait until UCLA. Might have to be before that. Might have to be like Michigan State. It might have to be homecoming.
Okay.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah. You can go without me too. It's allowed.
Yeah, but I kind of want to like go to Chicago, stay there for a night or two, go to Bloomington, stay there for the day, go back to Chicago, fly out.
Dude, that's a 4-hour drive. I'm getting to Bloomington. If I'm going to Bloomington, I'm leaving on Friday. I'm leaving Friday, and we're getting there, and I don't know. But, we'll figure this out off the off show. Might be an evening NBC.
It might just be a fly into Indy type of deal.
Sweet.
We'll see. CFB 26 ratings dropped. I don't have them sitting in front of me because I don't really think it's that big of a deal. But Surratt, I think, was a 93. Kamara and Pons, 92s. Aiden Fisher, criminally underrated, as is the rest of the Indiana team. I think they're like an 83 overall with like an 85 offense and a 78 defense, which is just criminal. And we still haven't seen any shots of Memorial Stadium or Kurt Signetti or Mike Shanahan or Brian Haynes or anything Indiana related for this new game. So until that happens, I'm kind of done talking about him.
Yeah, I
yeah,
just remember
Nick, John.
seeing him and just being like the individual ratings were somewhat fair. I think, having Mendoza as an 88, I think is fine. I was surprised that Surratt's the highest rated player. I think 93 is a fair rating for him, but like Kamara's got to be like a 96 and Fisher's got to be like a
Pons,
92 and Bonds has to be a 96 as well.
like
Like Pons and Kamara, like those guys are like those. If you want to make an argument for who's going to be a 99 rated player in Indiana, it's definitely Kamara and Pons. Like
and Fisher. Fisher's also an All-American.
I agree. I think he should be a 90 plus as well.
Agreed.
With a 99, he has a 99. What's it called? Like the reaction stat. What's that one? The
awareness.
Yeah,
play rec.
Yeah, play rec and 99 awareness. But maybe he's not as fast as everyone else though. If we want to be real.
Speaking of Surratt, Brad, he was getting major love from Pro Football Focus. Did you see who they comped him to as the 4th best returning receiver in the country?
They comped Surratt to who would they comp Surratt? The current NFL player?
Current NFL player. Big Ten alumni.
Current NFL player, Big Ten alumni. It's not Nick Westbrook. Can't be.
No.
I
was pleasantly surprised.
Oh man. Possession receiver. Like not gonna burn you. He does have a little AJ Brown in his game. He's not the freak athlete that he is, but
who's like AJ Brown light?
He's AJ Brown light.
Totally. No, who's like AJ Brown light?
Surratt.
No, but which NFL player? I thought that the comp was pretty good. I think the guy is a little bit more explosive and maybe a little bit more like faster and long speed, but solid comp.
Give me the comp. I said AJ Brown. That's
he plays in your division.
The Bears division?
No.
Yeah, which is my division? The AFC South and NFC North. Which one is it?
It's Nico Collins.
Oh, I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah.
I was a little surprised. I was like, ooh, yeah. Nico Collins has juice.
Yeah, not gonna wow you with like anything. Like he is 6'5" and like big and runs really good routes. Not the craziest speed, not the craziest measurables for as big as he is. Like he's not AJ Brown, but he just makes plays. Like AJ Brown's just a really good football player. Right?
Did you know
Surratt? I really do like that comp. That's a really good one. Nico Collins.
As much credit and obviously it's deserved as we give Omar Cooper for being a contested catch guy. I think Surratt was like 16th in the nation in contested catches or something like that. Or whatever that stat was. Surratt wasn't the only guy getting PFF love. Obviously, we know D'Angelo Pons is like viewed as the number 3 returning. I was about to say center back. That's how I was up playing pickleball at 7:00 this morning.
What does that have to do with center back?
Toasted. That's why I looked at CB and I was about to say center back, and I'm just like
Club World Cup.
It's because Fenway Sports Group is 2 in my head, Brad. But Pons, number 3 returning corner. Kamara, the 8th best returning edge guy, which is actually insane. Carter Smith, the 8th best returning tackle, also insane. Those guys should be much higher. No Fisher, utterly disgusting, and Amari Farrell snubbed as well among obviously the rest.
Yeah, of the team. I would say like some guys that weren't mentioned, like Amari Farrell should be a 90 plus. Like if we're just going down the list, like guys that should probably be 90 plus, like Kamara, Fisher, Pons, Farrell, Mendoza, Hemby should probably be a 90, arguably maybe an 89, 88. Surratt, I'll throw Smith should be a 90. Coop, I'd probably like realistically put it like an 80, 88, 89. But if we see what we think we're going to see, he's definitely a 92. And then, we could see some rating changes again 4 weeks into the season.
Where am I going next? Oh, here. We got new turf, Brad. I don't know if you saw it, but they're laying new turf at Memorial Stadium. A couple of different sources. It does look good.
Alternating colors.
But Yeah, you can see actually if you look over the
It's
shoulder,
like candy stripes. It's smart. I like it.
take a look at the way the turf looks in my background, and then go check out the pictures of the new turf on X and on like go Google it or whatever, and like you'll see like how desperately they needed to redo it. It looks great, but we have not seen the middle of the field yet.
Because it's going to be a bison with the sweater. It's going to be the throwback bison with the Indiana sweater. That's why.
One can only hope, Brad.
One can only hope. And are they going to go candy stripes in the end zones?
No, the end zones were showing their solid red.
For now.
That's true.
They had white stripes.
That's true.
You can either add white stripes or white Indiana. They have two options. I would like white stripes. I would like candy stripes because they already got the candy stripe going. Because you notice they have the alternating greens each 5 yards, right?
Mm-hmm.
You with me? Candy
I'm
stripe vibe.
I'm following. I'm here.
Then we go candy stripe end zones. And then bison. With the
PK's right. They do need that.
Everyone knows what I'm talking about. I want to say bison, throwback bison with the nose ring and the Hoosier sweater.
At least if the bison's not in the middle of the field, it's got to be on some of those concrete walls that are just exposed. And obviously, with the way and how conscious this particular football program is with its social media image and the way it's portrayed, shout out to the Cuban Center. They won. I think I don't know if it was one Emmy or multiple Emmys, but obviously not enough Emmys. Shout out to all those guys who work on the media side. Those dudes are phenomenal. The entire team over there is incredible. But it leads me to believe that they're not going to just leave those concrete walls concrete. Like they're probably going to be covered with something. And if that's going to be that bison picture, essentially the Knicks logo, that'd be pretty cool, in my opinion.
I'd say just throw some ads on there and try to get as much NIL revenue as possible. That's what I would do. That's what I would do as a Kelly grad. That's what I would do. I just put ads on it. You don't see the concrete walls during the game, or you just for just have them there. They don't need to do anything fancy with the concrete walls, in my opinion.
Yeah, the next thing is to expand the rock.
Expand the rock. remember Shrink the Rock? That was the funniest bit. But yeah, expand the rock. Definitely. I mean, Cignetti's literally addressed it already. So, publicly. So I think that's gonna happen. That's just gonna take some time, right? I think
100%.
Maybe next off.
Listen, you keep growing ticket sales 50%, 50%, 50%. All of a sudden, you're not gonna have anywhere to put people. You're gonna have no choice.
That's why Sig's gonna stay. Like, there's so many like little projects to do at Indiana that he could just have.
He has so many fun things to do that he just gets to be responsible for. Like, how many
he gets to like kind of like tell them, not responsible for. He just tells them to do it, and they'll just do it. Like, it's awesome.
But he gets the credit. But like, that's a great point. Like, how many opportunities do you really get as a head coach?
Like Florida doesn't need anything new.
It's like you just come in and run their machine, and if you can do it successfully, you win. But to build the machine of modern college football that's a really cool opportunity, especially for somebody who's a lifer in the sport and essentially has held every job imaginable when it comes to college football. Is like, who do you want to be the architect of your program for the future? It's like that guy. Actually, I want that guy.
Yeah. I'm giddy. I'm so happy he's ours because I don't think people realize, like, I see him getting his dues and getting ranked on like those top 10 coaches in college football, maybe top 15. Like, he's getting the respect. I don't think people realize that he's probably top 5. He's probably top 5. Just give him time to build the resume here at Indiana, and you'll see it. Like it's
clear as day.
We're sold. Really, I mean, our OG podcast name is Sigs Inside. So like we made this.
We've
podcast.
Been sold.
We started this because we believed in Kurt Cignetti, like back in about a year now, huh? It's almost like
over a year.
Over like a year anniversary.
The first time, actually, funny you said that because I guess I'll tease this now. But I have something coming down the pipe for vocfb.com. That's going to be probably the biggest thing I've ever written in terms of like word count. So we'll see how it ends up breaking down. But actually, I can tell you specifically, April 8th, 2024 was the first time that I texted you Sigs Inside an Indiana Football Podcast.
Well, the pilot was released July 5th, so we're almost there.
Correct.
We almost have the same birthday as America, almost.
Mm-hmm. I think it was maybe recorded on the 3rd, released on the 5th. I think that's how it went.
It probably was. I was remember how we recorded that?
Yes.
For those who don't know, Keezer FaceTimed me, and I spoke from the FaceTime into his mic. That's how the first one went.
That's how far we've come.
We've come a long way, for sure.
That is how far we've come.
Yeah.
That is unbelievably funny. And I honestly, if you told us a year ago that we'd be sitting here and I guess we'll just cover Big Ten Huddle in 2 swoops right now, but they put out a graphic. When was the last time your team won 10 games? Well, the last time the Indiana Hoosiers won 10 games was 2024. Feels damn good to be on top of that graphic. Gotta say.
Oh, yeah. Feels so good. Feels so good. Because it used to be never. So glad we're not in that Vandy graphic.
Yeesh.
Shout out Iowa State for getting their 10 wins. Like, I don't know, when the Brock Purdy team beat Oregon in the Alamo Bowl.
They had 10 last year.
It was just, but that was like their first time, like the Brock Purdy team. Because it, like, flashback 7 years ago, it was just Vandy, Iowa State, and Indiana were the only 3 schools to never have 10 wins at football. And it's funny that one of those teams, the only team left standing, is an SEC school. Just floating it out there for the Kentucky fans watching that want to continue writing Georgia and Alabama coattails. I'm not even going to say LSU because that's like a miracle season. Everything just comes together. And then obviously at Florida, but that's like Urban Meyer, Florida was almost 20 years ago. So,
yeah, it was basically around the time I started to like really understand the world of college football. I was like, oh my God, Tim Tebow, Alabama's just going to win everything. And that was Curt Cignetti. Yeah. It's wild how often you can trace college football back to Curt Cignetti.
It is wild. Phillip Rivers, Russell Wilson, Julio Jones, Dante Hightower.
Guys all over it. He's just there in the fabric, which is what made you brought this up, so I'll give you the runway here. Big Ten Huddle, bold prediction. Indiana goes 6-6.
That wasn't the only thing from that graphic I wanted to talk about, by the way.
Okay, I'm glad you said that because the entire graphic
I do understand what the word bold means.
Shout out to I have to shout out the Big Ten Huddle for that graphic because when you're like, there's a lot of times where people are like bold take, then it's like Ohio State wins the title. It's like that's not a bold take.
They were
those were bold.
Those were very bold takes, and it's amazing that they were able to find 10 very bold takes. So I guess we'll start with Indiana will not be good. Well, the first thing says Indiana will not be good. Which is so funny. Like around 6-6, like 3 years ago, we had taken that so much
in a heartbeat. In a heartbeat, dude.
If
20 coming off of 2022, if you're like next year you're gonna be 6-6, like you're going to a bowl game guaranteed to be like, sign me up.
We're going into the Purdue game 5-6. Sign me up. Like what? It's a dream.
We got a shot. Are you kidding?
It's funny how far we've come. So funny. And then around 6-6, you look at the schedule, right? Like, I just don't see a world where that's happening. I'm trying to figure it out. So like, okay, let's try to see what they're looking at. Okay, nightmare scenario: lose to Illinois, lose to Iowa on the road, lose to Oregon. All of a sudden, we're 3-3. Got Michigan State, UCLA, I guess. And then it's like Penn State. So there's the 6. And I guess there's Wisconsin. We have them at home, and we have.
Well, I mean, if you want to cover 2 more things on that graphic, one of them
breaking my brain because we're talking about teams that we beat by 30 last year that are all of a sudden going to beat us this year when we're playing them at home now. Like UCLA, Michigan State at home now. We played them on the road, beat them both by 30 plus. Like I just don't see.
Oh, Michigan State also the 23rd hardest place to play in the country. Apparently, nobody told Indiana.
Say that again.
Michigan State for college football 26 is like the 23rd hardest place to play in the country, apparently. But nobody told the Hoosiers that.
Spartan Stadium. But yeah, I mean, that place was empty by the third quarter. It usually is. Like Michigan State is supposed to be a very hostile environment. I feel like they've lost a little bit of their gusto since Antonio left. So that, Jonathan Smith kind of has to find that back. But it's like, I'm trying to look at the schedule and just trying to like manufacture a way they go 6-6. Like,
Well, Pitt Hoosier, that makes a lot of sense. He said he watched the episode Indiana Hate was from a Boiler guest on the podcast. That makes sense why another one of those bold predictions
Purdue
was
makes
Purdue.
a bowl game go 6-6.
No, how about Purdue beats Ohio State? You see that one on there?
Oh my God, there actually is a lot of Purdue going on.
That's what I'm saying. It makes a lot of sense.
Purdue wants to be us so bad. It's kind of sad, because they're supposed to be the football school. We're supposed to be the basketball school. And it's kind of like inverse right now. It's kind of.
Well, did you see when their last 10-win season was?
When was it?
I think it was like 2002.
Drew Brees? No, it's Kyle Orton. Yeah, that's Kyle Orton. Wow, that's a long time.
Yeah, it's a long time to be not
better than never.
Yeah,
that was us a couple of years ago. I mean, no hate.
That was BC times, Brad. That was BC times.
Yeah, I just don't see a world where we go 6. I really don't see a world. Like, I don't think you understand the meaning of the word bold. Like, yeah, that's bold, but I could also find a few other words for it, that I probably can't say, You
can say what I mean. This is an unfiltered podcast.
It's I guess like it's kind of I don't really want to say it.
I called it. I mean, I called it nonsense. Like
it's nonsense. I guess like a dim-witted.
It's just words. But we're talking about it.
Eclectic.
We just spent the last 4 to 5 minutes talking about it, so they won. To be honest,
it's dim-witted. It's asinine. It's retard.
I didn't know you were going that
really dumb. Really, that was the word I didn't want to say.
Bad.
That was the word I didn't want to say. But I was just trying to find.
I thought you were gonna curse or
asinine,
something.
Asinine. Idiotic.
There you go.
Just dumb. Like imbeciles. Like it's unbelievable. And I kind of want to go through this again. Wisconsin wins 7 games. I like it. Like just from in a vacuum, like Luke Fickell finds it. Wisconsin could be. They have a serviceable quarterback, Billy Edwards. Could happen. That's Washington wins a playoff game. That's bold as hell. Don't hate it though. Don't hate it. Because I could actually see a world where it's like with all the question marks around Oregon and Ohio State, especially at the quarterback position. I'll throw Michigan in that boat. Like there's a world where it's like Indiana, Penn State, USC, and I guess in this scenario, Washington could be the Big Ten teams.
I can't believe I haven't brought this up yet, but I don't know if you've been following along on the channel. We've been there's been NCAA 14 simulations running. The Oregon game dropped.
You sent me that, and I skipped to the end.
So did I.
And game-winning field goal, right? Like 31-30. Fun. I could totally see that. 98 yards to the boys.
Yeah, Mendoza took him down. W for Indiana in Eugene. And then Michigan State, they were down 5 with like no time left, and Mendoza scrambled out of the pocket, scored for the win. Like it was just, great theater, good stuff, obviously, and hopefully a sign of things to come.
Yeah, some other ones that I don't think are all that crazy. I think Ohio State beating Michigan by 10 plus, but then losing to Purdue. I don't know if that's even it's not even like a take. That's just like
that's just
La La Land.
As a Purdue fan.
For Michigan being a dumpster fire, like they're going to start a freshman quarterback, like they could be a dumpster fire and might have to throw in Mike.
Freshman quarterback who's out of shape.
You're seeing all the things about Bryce Underwood being fat. You saw all that. He might be fat. Bryce Underwood might be Jamarcus Russell before he's even in the NFL. Crazy.
Are you saying there's problems to giving an 18-year-old $10 million?
Yeah, there is problems with giving high schoolers $10 million. Yes, there is.
Shout out to Bryce Underwood.
Glad Indiana doesn't do that. Anyways,
good on him. Shout out to him. He got the bag. That's what
some of them
like,
that I don't think are all too crazy. Like will win 50 out of conference game. I'm not gonna count.
I don't even know. Hey, how do you count that?
I'm not gonna count. Okay, there's 18 teams. They play 3 each. It's about. So they're saying they're gonna go about like 50 and 6, 50 and 8, something like that.
Probably.
Yeah, probably.
Sure.
Fuck yeah, sure. Whatever. Big Ten will be winless versus the SEC in the regular season, but undefeated versus the SEC in the playoffs. I love that because I actually do think Texas might go out and beat Ohio State early this year. I think like I said, there's a world where Ohio State doesn't make the playoff this year. There's very much a world like that. They have to replace a lot, like a ton. Like I said, continuity earlier in the podcast. It's gonna be tough. I'll need to see the machine. It's year 6 with Ryan Day, so he's officially like, it's not. There's 0 Urban Meyer guys there anymore. 0. 2 9-3 Big Ten teams will make the playoffs. That's the dumbest. I mean, I don't know how you could say that based on the idea that like we saw the playoff last year and it was all 10
teams.
Wins. It was the 12 10-win teams to finish the year, and they all got in. Like it's clear that like you have to kind of win 10 games to be considered for the playoff. That's kind of one of the criteriums. You have to win 10.
Well, I mean, if you push it to 16 games, then yeah, it's going to be inevitable that 9-win teams get in. Multiple, probably like 4.
Oh, I meant like 6. What do you mean 16 game season?
No, it's 16-team playoff.
Well, that's not this year. It's still 12.
It's still 12 this year?
Well, yeah, they can't change the rules right now for this year. They'd have to do that like a year in advance.
Oh, I follow this stuff closely.
Yeah,
I can't believe I don't even understand
it's
the
okay.
rules.
Like they can't just change the rules. They had to make that decision before like spring ball started.
No, you're right. That makes sense.
Yeah. They have there's laws, right? Sports, right? There's rules. League rules.
Not in this sport.
Yeah. And then the one that I like the best was there will be 0 head coaching firings. I like this one because I kind of
like that one.
Because I actually like all the coaches in the Big Ten. I think the Big Ten has the best coaching like plethora of coaches out of the like compare them to the SEC. I'm taking the Big Ten coaches. I just am. I like Loxley. A ton. Like Riley. Like Deshaun Foster. I like Jonathan Smith. I like Jed Fish. Like those are just middle of the pack guys. Luke Fickell. Then you got Ryan Day. You got Dan Lanning. You got Signetti, obviously. You got James Franklin, who I think is awesome. As much as people like to say, oh, he can't win the big one. Like, dude literally went to the semis last year. Like, what are you talking about? Yeah, I like that take. No coaching firings. I like that. Let's get a little continuity in this conference. Let's build up. Let's build up each other. Let's not leave anyone behind. Let's just become let's become the 18 best teams in the country play in the Big Ten. Let's make it like that. How do you do that? Like that. Coaching continuity. Bang.
All right. Yeah, listen, you got to I don't always agree with their takes, but I do find myself talking about their stuff a lot. So, that tells you everything you need to know about the content they're creating. Another guy who's like that, who I kind of find myself just like gravitating towards his clips, is JD Pickle from On3. He had, so I bring this up to say he was commenting on the Tom Castellanos quotes that were coming out. I'm transitioning slightly away from Indiana football before we jump into Indiana basketball, but Castellanos heard what Pavia said last week and essentially said, hold my beer. But Pickle's take on that was like essentially the same way that we've been defending Curt Signetti, is like Indiana as a fan base needed to be lit on fire. And that's why Curt Signetti was talking the way he was talking. And if you're Florida State from last year, like you probably do need somebody in the room talking like that. That being said, was the word choice great? No. Was the quote about him like personally owning the entire ACC last year correct? No. Mm-hmm. Very funny. So it's like I don't agree with 100% of what he was saying, but I kind of do agree with the fact that like sometimes you need to shake the tree. Sometimes you do need to kick the hornet's nest.
Yeah, it's not like Alabama's saying that week of the tournament. Like by the time they get through fall camp, like they're gonna forget about that Dago Pavia. interview. Like they're just
Alabama's. Are you a little shocked? Alabama's kind of become a little bit of a punching bag here in the off season.
No, with Saban gone, you gotta get your shots in. A little jab here, a little jab there. I don't hate it. I respect it. I mean, you still got to respect Bama. I mean, Kalen DeBoer is a hell of a coach. If any school knows that, it's us. How good Kalen DeBoer is as a coach. He's a really good head coach. Obviously, taking Washington to the playoff in 2 years, all the way to the Natty actually in 2 years. Has won everywhere he's been. Even in pro, you can argue even at a higher level than Cignetti, which is why he has the Bama job and Cignetti has the Indiana job. Like it's does that mean he's better? No, it just means he has a better resume. But yeah, I mean, Kalen DeBoer is a hell of a coach, and when the school that gets him when Bama fires him 2 years from now is going to be very, very lucky.
You think that's inevitable?
Yeah, because I don't see them. I mean, yeah, unless they win a championship in the next 3 years, like, yeah, he's probably gone. Just like, the delusion of boosters and the fans once they're coming off, dynasties, Gene Bartow, post Wooden, lost 3 games in 2 years, but no natty, got fired. Like, that's just stuff that just happens. Like, look at Indiana basketball. Like, oh, Tom Crean doesn't win in the tournament, so we got to fire him. Like, what? Doesn't make any sense, guys. All right.
Do you want to go to the chat real quick before I have my last point before we jump?
Yeah, we'll start with PK saying, agree with you, Brad. Always tough to replace the legend. It is. It is really tough. And I think you got to like reset your headspace and be like, hey, this is something that will never be replicated again. 7 titles in 12 years. What is that what Saban did? Like 7 titles, 12 years. Like that's not going to happen again. Like, come on, guys.
No, not in this current era of college football.
It's just not going to happen, right? And Pitt makes a really good point. Money's getting tight, so schools are going to be hard pressed to pull the trigger on a buyout. I actually like that point. It's actually a really smart way to see it. But I actually just see it as like the quality of the coaches that are in the Big Ten. Like, I think many schools would be foolish to let go of what they have right now. I'd argue like the weakest coach is probably Barry Odom, just because I haven't really like seen him too much. Right, you kind of flunk out at Missouri, where Elijah Drinkwitz kind of took the ball and ran with it and really kind of outshined him a little bit. And then went to UNLV for a couple of years, just had some okay teams, like not 8-9 wins, and got this Purdue job. And could work, right? Like it could.
I'm kind of a fan in a weird way, which bothers me.
That's the guy I'm like least. And it's not even because like Purdue. It's more so just because like Barry Odom. Like, I'm just not. I don't know. It's not super flashy. It's not. But neither was Cignetti, I guess. And Cignetti was like more flashy.
Cignetti was flashy. The more you look at
flashy, no one saw.
I can't believe that guy was at James Madison. I don't want to get too into it, but I have a lot of thoughts on.
Crean sucked.
It's funny that this is the direction that
the team's ranked number 1 in the country. Like,
Brad, I didn't tell you what I wrote about for Voice of College Football, but it's funny that you keep bringing these different things up. Of like, I hit on a lot of these notes.
Who replaced Tom Osborne at Nebraska, went 9-3 every year and was fired? That's Bo Pelini, John. The Bo Pelini trap. Bo Pelini went 9-3 every single year at Nebraska.
Don't get Brad started. Oh man,
every single one, and he got fired. And they replaced him with Mike Riley, who at the time, like, that's the flashy hire. That's the guy you want. He made Oregon State relevant. He got the Rogers brothers, and Oregon State became really good. And we all saw how that worked out. And then they would go Scott Frost, and that failed. Now they're at Matt Rule. And it's like, man, they probably really missed Bo Pelini, don't they? He had him in a really good spot. Him and Zach Taylor were tearing it up in Nebraska. No, they didn't. Oh, they didn't win a championship, so we got to fire them. Like, that's insane. They're playing on college. They're playing the Big 12 championship game every other year. Like, I don't know. It's just crazy. Crean had 2 players in the top 5 in the NBA draft and couldn't get past the Sweet 16. He didn't know how to attack a zone.
OG had a torn ACL.
That doesn't. I don't don't see the relevance there. I really don't. It's like, all right, Ben Howland at UCLA had about 4 like 10-year NBA vets on his team, and they didn't win a national title. And he got fired eventually. But that's more so because of the guys he brought in after that, right? It wasn't necessarily, oh, he had one bad year, let's fire him. It was more so like he just had a really bad, he went 15-7. Like that's what happened, right? He got fired, deservedly so. It wasn't because, oh, he lost in the Sweet 16. And I know you guys are going to say, oh, he had a really bad year the year before. OG Anunoby got hurt the whole year. Like that was one of his best NBA
that team
players.
That team beat UNC that year, and that team beat Kansas.
Yeah.
Who were both top 5.
And people are going to tell me he sucks, right? Like it's.
And then OG tore his ACL, and then they didn't.
He didn't know how to attack his zone because he wasn't able to beat probably the best Jim Boeheim defensively team there ever was, with Rakeem Christmas and Michael Carter Williams and Josh Prosh. Like those guys were sick. Like those guys were nasty. Like those guys were running through everyone. Like, I don't know. It's like you can't just pick one game and be the reason why they fired. You got to take the full scope. He took an Indiana program that was coming back from the dead. We're talking like 8. I mean, everyone knows this, like 10 wins in 3 years because of the sanctions, shit like that. And, he brings them all the way up to number 1 in the country, number 1 seed. And maybe he didn't get the job done, but like he did it. Like he did the ultimate rebuild. And then they were just going to we didn't make it past the Sweet 16. I promise you, keep them a couple of years. Maybe they break through and go to a Final Four. But, we're here now, and what's done is done. And it's time to move forward. I don't try living in the past, No,
I think we're in a great spot too.
Yeah, I think we're in a great spot. But, who's to say, give Crean a couple more years, maybe one of those teams breaks through.
Well, I think this segues perfectly.
Sometimes the ball just doesn't fall. Like, what if, if the shots were falling against Syracuse, maybe he goes all the way. Did Crean buy you a pizza when you was in line? Actually, my freshman year was the Archie Miller freshman year. Actually.
Yeah, we didn't see Crean.
I didn't see Crean.
Gone before we got there. Actually,
I saw afar from a basketball fan, and I was shocked when they fired Crean. Shocked. I was like, whoa, why would they do that? That's crazy. They're number 1 in the country 2 years ago, and they fired him. Like that was just insane to me. Just as a basketball fan.
My first Indiana basketball game was the Thomas Bryant double foul. Jesus Christ, Brad! You want to just?
I'm going on a tangent because it's like I forgot what I was going to say. Keep going.
I was going to say my first Indiana basketball game was the Thomas Bryant double foul game, and so I did watch Coach Crean coach a game, but no, we weren't on campus for that. No, we saw Archie Miller. So that kind of gives the point of reference of why like we didn't really understand the significance of Randy Whitman, because it's like you have to understand what Indiana basketball looked like when we showed up, and like that was our framing of it. It's like, cool, here's Archie Miller, like, and he pushed everybody away from the program. So it was like, if you look at Mike Woodson's tenure from that lens, and it's like, I don't want to talk about that though. I want to talk about Coach Darren DeVries.
I remember watching Indiana get blown out by Fort Wayne and
I want to talk about Darren DeVries, and DeVries met with Rick Bozich, and in that he had it was like 5 questions about Indiana's upcoming season, and basically the last question was like, the last 2 coaches got fired for not being able to meet expectations. Like, do you feel like you'll be able to handle the fan pressure? And he said, my expectations are high myself. Like I'm not worried about what the fans like. I want to win. Like the guys in this room want to win. I thought that was just the perfect response. And like it's funny. It's like juxtapose him and Cignetti, and like you look at what the Indiana football fan base needed, and they needed Kurt Cignetti. The Indiana basketball fan base needs Darren DeVries, who's just going to do the right thing over and over again, and he's almost a little bit boring. And it's just like the more time you spend with them, like the more you like him.
The older fans know what the standard is. What is the standard? Someone explain it to me.
I mean, that's kind of what my little tangent was.
How many times do
Miller, Mike Woods, like we don't know.
Like, what is the standard? Like, okay. Is the standard making 3 tournaments in 8 years? Is the standard making 4 Sweet 16s in 25 years, basically since Bob Knight? Like, what is the standard, guys? Like, the standard is gone. It's time to start fresh. It's time to stop living in the past. It's time to accept what it is and just try to make the tournament every year, and then maybe you go on a run. Yeah, banners are the standard. There's only one winner every year, and it can't be Indiana every year. So if that's how you're going to judge
that's actually, Brad,
I get it.
technically that's not true.
Huh?
It can be Indiana every year.
It literally can't. It can't be Indiana every year. Look at UConn last year. I mean, they had a great group of 2 teams that went back to back, and that was awesome. Klingon, all those guys, Sonogo, Hawkins, and I'm forgetting one of the guys. Newton was really good. Tristan Newton. I mean, those guys were good, and they got it done, and they did their job. Who's to say, like, yeah, the banners are the standard, but like, it takes a special group to finally break through and get there. And it might be loser talk, but like, I feel like the continuity of things is what's going to get you there. Right. Like, it wasn't done overnight. Like, Hurley had that back-to-back year, and it could be 10 years before he breaks that again. Right. Like, he might not go to another Final Four for another, 5 years. Does that mean you're going to fire Dan Hurley because the standard is Final Fours every year? Is that what that means? Like, that, I'm just trying to understand, like, obviously the standard is winning championships. You can't win championships if you fire your coach every 4 years or 6 years for Tom Crean. You gave him about 6 or 7. We gave him 6 or 7. It's like the standard, I just think the standard is winning championships and competing for championships. You can't go to compete for championships if you're not going to the tournament. And you can't go to the tournament if you're firing your coach every 4 years. You got to rebuild, start from scratch. That's my point.
I want to acknowledge Anthony Leal is the GOAT, who said
Cam Spencer.
Cam Spencer's
a dog. Cam Spencer is a dog, NBA player.
Shout out to Anthony Leal is the GOAT. Anthony Leal is the GOAT. PK says, look at IU football. We are thinking we can make a run every year. That is what's missing in IU basketball. The difference between Indiana football and Indiana basketball is Indiana football is like, we can make the playoff. Like, let's go try and win a national championship. Like, Indiana basketball is like, we're going to win the national championship. It's not, let's make the Sweet 16. Let's make
but like, here's what I'm saying.
Second weekend of the tournament.
Here's what I'm saying. Let's make IU, when they fired, okay, I'm just going back to Tom Crean. Like, yes, Woodson and Archie Miller, that was the fallout of them, what I think, wrongly firing Tom Crean. Wrongly. Like, incorrect decision. Because he was in the, John just said, Knight had a cycle where he was in the running every 5 years. Tom Crean had a 3-year stretch where he was in the running. Maybe didn't, they went to the Sweet 16 like once, but like, that's just what happens in the tournament. It's a tournament made up of really good teams that probably have other NBA players too. And the fact that, you think you can go in and, that doesn't mean you're out of the running just because you get knocked out early in the tournament. I'd say going to the tournament is you in the running. Like, if you're getting top 5 seeds, that's you're in the running. Like that's what it is. Like, okay, maybe they didn't get it done. It's a basketball game. The ball didn't fall in the hoop that day. Like, it is what it is. They're kids, right? Like, I still think the Tom Crean firing was ridiculous in hindsight. They should have given him at least 2 more years.
I didn't have 10 minutes on Tom Crean on today's show notes. I got to be honest.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't.
I'm just saying. No, I'm saying, like, we've had like a nice, like, mini Indiana basketball history.
Yeah, I think they say he couldn't attack his zone because of one game against Syracuse. Like, I'm sure there's plenty of other games where he attacked his own just fine, but they didn't.
Anthony Leal's the GOAT must be reading my mind. I was going to Sammy Jackson next. Brad, You reached out specifically to tell me you wanted to talk about Sammy Jackson. I said, runway's yours, my friend. It's so, especially basketball recruiting. There's so many of these guys, and this staff has done an unbelievable job. Like, Darren DeVries, say whatever you will about him, and like, whether or not if he succeeds in year one, what happens, but like, the one thing the guy is not is a ghost. Like, he is around. He is at all the basketball tournaments in Indiana and around the state and all the high school stuff and the circuits. And like that dude's out there recruiting. Those dudes are recruiting their asses off. And that's another parallel you're seeing from the like February-esque of last year's Kurt Signetti's Hoosiers, where it's like they're making a lot of really good noise on the recruiting trail. Like that's what's happening with Indiana basketball right now. So Sammy Jackson, Brad.
Sammy Jackson crunched some film right before this episode dropped because he's committing tomorrow, and it's between Indiana. He's a Philadelphia kid, so it's between Indiana, Texas, St. Joe's, the hometown team, and then VCU. VCU's in the running. Very cool for them. He's a 4-star, 6'7", listed as a small forward. Watching the film, definitely more of a shooting guard, just pure score. 6'7", does a lot with the ball in his hands, kind of runs, at times point, but just very, very ball centric, very just will be a leading scorer on the team at the college level. Very, very talented shooter. Not gonna at 6'7", not gonna like thrill you with his athleticism. Who knows what the weight room does for him? But at this point, like I don't really see him, even though he's 6'7", like being able to guard at the 4 position or anything like that. He's barely even a 3. He's more of a 2 to me. But a very talented 2 at that, and just a very natural scorer, and yeah, just very heavy ball heavy type player who can do a lot with it offensively. Didn't really see him too much on defense, but I imagine knowing Darian DeVries, he's probably seen enough of him on defense to press on him this hard, or at least thinks he can instill it in him. Because he's not like the craziest athlete, but he can definitely guard. He can shuffle his feet, right? He's not going to like jump out the gym, but he can probably guard. 6'7", lanky. That's scary at 2 or 3 at the college level. I will say this. I think there's a very high likelihood he commits to Texas tomorrow. I think there's a very high chance. I think he's visiting there tomorrow, actually.
Wait, you texted me and wanted a runway for Sammy Jackson to just say you think he's going to Texas?
Yeah, but I hope we get him. I think that'd be awesome. Yeah. But I think it's very high likely he goes to Texas after kind of deep diving into it, because he is visiting there tomorrow, according to 24/7. I don't know how accurate that is, but yeah, his visit's June 24th, and his commitment date is June 24th. So I'm gonna take an educated guess and say he's gonna go to Texas, but it'd be a huge get for D-Rock this early if he's able to get a player like that. He's a bona fide scorer, really good on the offensive end, very good at finding his spots and just really pulling up. He shoots it about at his head, which is kind of how I don't know. I don't know how I shoot it, to be honest. I haven't watched myself shoot, but he shoots it a little low from what I see, but it goes in. And he's a very talented scorer and really gets to his spots. His AAU team basically, as being a high level recruit, they run plays for him. They run the offense through him, and would be very exciting. I think he's a very talented shooter and scorer. Can score in a variety of different ways, whether it's in transition, ISO, pick and pop, just catch and shoot. He can really score in a variety of ways, which is exciting. But yeah, not like the craziest athlete of all time. But yeah, would be an awesome get for D-Rock.
Shout out to Jackson Johnson, who's dropping all the links in the chat. I'll post those when we close the show. But Jackson Johnson's the man. John says Jackson Johnson, Indiana will win a natty before an SEC team will. And Anthony Leals, the GOAT, makes a good point. Brad, isn't today June 24th?
Wait, what is PK saying? No, he didn't. Wait, what'd you say?
Isn't today June 24th?
Yeah, so I guess he's visiting Texas right now. He's making his commitment tomorrow. So
I have to say, I would
see what the decision the kid makes,
I would be a little surprised if we
armchair athlete, brother.
Oh, Goon, before you respond to that, I would just say, given how many times he's appeared organically across my timeline, given how many times he's organically appeared across my timeline when I haven't been going out and looking for it, I would be a little surprised if we didn't end up with him.
Sammy Jackson?
Hmm?
Yeah. Well, he's visiting Texas, so I
haven't done much reading up on him. Like, I don't know anything about his recruitment, so like take that with a grain of salt.
I'll just say Texas probably has the edge because he's visiting there right now, and he's coming tomorrow. So we'll see.
Lamar Wilkerson visited Kentucky, and then immediately left and committed to Indiana.
D-Rock has his magic. If we get him, it'd be a huge get because he's a really good scorer. And like, I'm not ruling it out. I just said there's a very high likelihood he commits to Texas tomorrow. It's also, he could also commit to Indiana. I don't think, don't sleep on St. Joe's being the hometown school. It's just, I mean, if he goes to VCU, that'd be the ultimate curveball.
Yeah, I mean, no, St. Joe's would be the ultimate curveball. That's not even St. John's.
St. Joe's, yeah.
St. Joe's in Philly.
Yeah.
Cool school. Beautiful
Delonte
baseball
West. Delonte West went to St. Joe's back in the day. Who was his teammate? He had like another NBA teammate. Like they were sick way back in the day. Hold
on. SoCal Hot Sauce says, keep up the good work, boys. Happy crochet day. Happy crochet day to you as well. Can the basketball team make a similar leap that the football team has made last year? In short, I think yes. Very
they can make the playoffs. Yeah, I'd say that's a similar leap. Right?
I think they could be. I really think they could be a 4 or 5 seed, and we'll see. I don't know. Maybe that's just wishful thinking, and maybe I'm just delusional. But
I've been saying
at the very least, I think they're a tournament team. So
I've done the same thing the past 2 years where I thought they're going to be 4 or 5 seeds, and
just talk yourself into something.
It hasn't happened. So I just hope they really make the tournament,
and then
it'd be awesome. And then obviously we're dancing, and then that should be, maybe they make a run, maybe they go to the Final Four, maybe they get hot. They're a really good shooting team. Like the goal should be. I hope those last 25 years have been I don't know what that means. But yeah, I just hope Indiana makes the tournament, and that gives them a shot to win the championship. It just really does. And, I
100% agree with.
By the way, Tom Crean in his last 6 seasons was a top 5 seed 3 times. So, I mean, he was in the running enough considering what went down. But I guess maybe there was a downward spiral somewhat, and I still think the firing was a little bit rash.
10 minutes of Tom Crean. I didn't have it today.
Considering what happened to OG Anunoby. Because if they have OG Anunoby, they don't go 18-16. They probably get 25 wins, and they probably get another top 6 seed in the tournament. So, like, that would have made it 4 out of 6 years, top 6 seeds in the tournament. But, who's to say? It's all hypotheticals at this point, and that was almost 8 years ago now. So, it doesn't really matter. Tom Crean sucks, I guess, and I'm wrong, and I'm an idiot, and I don't know anything I'm talking about. So
I can't believe you're still talking about him.
Because it goes against my my code, Indiana's built for the tournament, not the Big Ten. I agree with that. They're a really good shooting team, and they'll probably have to, they're kind of zigging where the Big Ten's zagging right now, and I think that could work for them, could not. We'll just see how it goes. Like, 3's bigger than 2. It's almost like kind of a fun experiment to see if this type of team can work in the Big Ten. It almost was good enough to work in the Big 12, where you could even argue, it's not like the Big Ten is any more, like, people are going to hate me for this, but it's not like the Big Ten is any more physical than, the Big 12 and the SEC. It's really not.
I actually disagree. I think the way that they whistle in the Big Ten,
but the way they whistle, yeah, I mean,
I think it dramatically impacts the way the Big Ten
I was talking like the
athletes
in the tournament. Like
athletes. No, I mean no, but it's different. It's the style of basketball. No, it's the Big Ten is. I wouldn't say. No, actually, I would. I would say prehistoric. And then you look at what happens to all those teams in the tournament, and they all look like deer in the headlights when it's not like when you can't just murder people as they go to the basket.
Yeah.
Which, like, listen, I don't hate that style of basketball. Like, I enjoy, like, like it's Big Ten basketball. Like, I enjoy it, but it's just, I do think that's like a direct correlation to the struggles in the tournament recently. And I think that's another reason why, like, to that point, I think this Indiana team to defend the perimeter, move the ball, and shoot with efficiency from the outside sets you up really well for March. Can you get there?
Yeah. Yeah. And John says Knight used to get bounced in the first round, but we went to the tournament thinking Final Four every year. My point is, stop saying the reason why Tom Crean got fired is because he couldn't get it done in the tournament. I think that's a dumb reason to fire a coach. That's kind of where this whole rant started from. I don't think tournament success should determine your standing as a head coach. You get to the tournament every year. You have a job for life, my opinion. Job as long as you keep going to the tournament, which I guess Tom Allen didn't do because OG Anunoby got hurt.
Tom Crean.
Yeah, Tom Crean. Who did I say? OG.
Tom Allen.
Tom Allen. Classic.
Do you have
definitely should have fired Tom Allen for sure.
Do you have a closing thought, Brad, or anything final?
Cover everything you want to talk about today? Because I kind of hijacked the show.
No, we got everything. This was my plan was to wind you up and let you go. So, other than trying to get my Thomas Bryant double foul point in, which I definitely could have waited. It was great. It's good stuff.
Yeah, it was good stuff.
I do have a closing thought here, though.
Yeah, you want to go? I'll end it. I'll come up with my closing thought, which will probably have to do with Tom Crean, it'll be Indiana basketball related, not necessarily Tom Crean.
I'm gonna shout out Andrew Hillsman, IU27. He does IU Sports Media, play-by-play for WIUX and Big Ten Plus. He was out covering the Keene Swamp Beasts, I guess some summer ball team in New Hampshire. He's doing his reporting, gets hit by a ball in the middle of his reporting, wears it like it's nothing, shakes it off, continues the rest of his report like nothing happened. That's just being a Hoosier. That's just being on your feet, staying in the moment, not being rattled, playing with toughness. It was good stuff. He shouted out Jeremy Gray, also shouted out Trisha Whitaker. Credited their classes with being able to think on his feet like that. And I just thought that was a cool moment for a Hoosier to stay in the pocket like that and do his thing. So shout out to Andrew.
Perfect. All right. My closing thought. The standard is competing for national titles. Obviously, we all know it doesn't mean you can win the national title every year. How do you win the national title? You go to the tournament every year, if not consistently. Obviously, missing the tournament is a bad look and probably knock your standing in terms of your job security. I just think, we need to be accountable about how we treat our players and our coaches when shit hits the fan. And, maybe the season's not going according to plan. Let's not freak out. It's a long season, 30-game season. A lot of things can change over the course of, January, February, March. So, I just think, I know what the standards are. I understand, I was raised, loving a basketball program that it has more banners than Indiana does, just for the record. So I know what the standards are.
No, you don't got to go there.
I will, because I don't think they're telling me to raise my standards. So I will go there, actually. I think it comes with, just having, obviously, your team makes the tournament. You should be excited that your team is going to win the tournament, right? And I think Tom Crean had them in the tournament should be given yeah, obviously that's how you have a job, right? It's not like a hope and prayer. I don't think it was a hope and prayer with Tom Crean. I think he was on the precipice of making 4 tournaments in 6 years, coming off basically a death penalty from the NCAA from the Kelvin Sampson fiasco. And I just don't think he got enough. I don't think he got enough leeway. But yeah, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was the right call. But
it
then
all comes back to Indiana, Brad.
But then you look at the next 8 years and makes you think a little bit. Makes you think just a little bit. Just makes you think. Like, what?
15 minutes on Tom Crean on this week's episode of Indiana Hoosiers Live.
Yeah,
appreciate everybody hanging out with us. You can
shout out
follow
John
us.
Wooden.
You can follow us here. The link's right here on Twitter at IndianaVOCFB, on Instagram at IndianaVOCFB. I honestly forgot we were on TikTok too, to be honest. We're on TikTok, IndianaVOCFB. You can follow me.
Sorry.
You can follow me at Alec Keyser. You can follow Brad at Bradley_Loomis. 8. You can follow the Sigs Inside account at Sigs Inside Pod, posting memes and videos and God knows what from that account. But be on the lookout for the videos that drop throughout the week. And yeah, appreciate everybody hanging out. Again, I probably should be saying this like at the beginning of the show, but we have a subscriber goal. We're chasing 500 subs by the beginning of the season. I think we're going to be able to get there and do it quickly. But yeah, again, appreciate everybody. Like, comment, subscribe, share, tell a friend. Jackson Johnson says, tell the Kroger cashier. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us. See you guys next week.
Love talking hoops with you guys. Thanks, guys.
Appreciate y'all.
You see, they did, and they got away with it. That's why I like cheating. Cheating works.
And now they give money to Cal.
Oh, man. Oh.